London, and welcome to my channel where we put the fun in funeral, the bitch in obituary, and the sex back into dyslexic. Alright, second intro. Hi, I was born XY. I came out at 14, transitioned at 15, here I am, officially 20, and I'm a tranny. That's spelled tran-knie. Don't get offended, you fucks. This is a video long in the fucking making. If this turns into a whole rant, which it probably will because I rant, oh well, I can't escape J.K. Rowling. If you didn't know, I did a video before on J.K. Rowling. Look at that, I'll link that in the description. Here I am once again. Here I am! Talking about J.K. Rowling. I'm gonna face my fears and talk about it because my takes are almost as hot as I am. My biggest fear with these things and with these rant videos is I am a very neutral person in a lot of aspects, but I just so happen to be neutral with a lot, and I don't want people thinking like, oh, well, she's a people pleaser, so she's just being neutral about things. And while I am a people pleaser, and while I am neutral about a lot, I'm a person that tries to see both sides of the argument to the biggest degree that I fucking can. I go out of my way to see both sides of the argument, and that should not be a problem at fucking all. Rolls up sleeves. Welcome to my game show. Title card, is J.K. Rowling a transphobe TERF? Yes, the game show where I'll give you my problems and my not problems. And you are going to try to discover for your own self, for your own damn self, if she's a TERF, transphobe, or nothing. Cool, get the fucking rules? Cool. Also, it's a rule of the game to compliment my makeup. I know, it's so great, I'm better than you. So, we are going to start off with the juicy problems. J.K. Rowling, one beautiful day in 6/6/20, tweeted, if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discover their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. The idea that women like me who've been empathetic to trans people for decades, feeling kind shit because they're vulnerable in the same way as women, i.e. to male violence, hate trans people because they think sex is real and has lived consequences. What is she writing? The same way as women hate trans people because they think sex is real and has lived consequences is a nonsense. I respect every trans person's right to live any way that feels authentic and comfortable to them. I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the basis of being trans. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it's hateful to say so. So that's what J.K. Rowling posted. Here comes the internet. She continuously gets into backlash because of her trans comments and because of this specific situation. So big backlash happens and she writes a whole essay that I read and dug through and broke it all down. I'll also link the essay down below if you want to read it there in its entirety, which there's a lot of it. I'll do my very best to try to not get you to be lost. I can't guarantee shit though. So my problems, and I'm just going off my notes here. So my first point is probably the most popular thing that I've seen many influencers, many trans influencers specifically say, including myself, that the majority of trans people do not believe in The majority of trans people believe in biology. And that's just a fact. The majority of trans people do believe in biology. I have seen, and I definitely can concede that on major outlets, there have been trans people that said biology isn't real and it's not a thing, which biology is very much real and very much a thing. So the majority of trans people do believe in biological sex. That's just that. They tend to be more of a silent majority because it is just a known thing. We know, oh my God, there's a spider on my ring light. Don't bite me. Actually do. I need to be poisoned to death. I feel like that today. They tend to be the silent majority for sure, but I believe that that's because everyone just can concede that, and we, I think, collectively realize that not believing in biology is just dumb. If you're a trans person that believes in biology, comment down below. Make yourself fucking known. From the get-go, this rant seemed pretty pointless, if I'm totally fucking honest. It doesn't make J.K. Rowling look any better, the fact that she defends literal fucking TERFs. People could sit there and say that she's not defending a TERF, no matter fucking what. However, that's objectively fucking wrong, and if you deny that shit, then you are just as blind. I feel at that point you're just choosing not to look at the objective truth. She has defended Maya Forrester, and if you don't know the atrocities that Maya Forrester has fucking said, here's a little clip from that video that I did covering that exact situation.
Some transgender people have cosmetic surgery, but most retain their birth genitals. Everyone's equality and safety should be protected, but women and girls lose out on privacy, safety, and fairness if males are allowed into changing rooms, dormitories, prisons, and sports teams.
Not to mention, JK has also defended and speaks very highly of Magdala Burns. Is that, yeah, Magdalene Burns. Magdalene Burns got J.K. Rowling's attention when she said that it's not transphobic to not want to date a pre-op trans woman, which I very much agree with as a trans person. It's not transphobic. It's not it's not transferable. It's not transphobic to not want to date a trans woman. There is transphobic ways of going about not wanting to date a trans woman. It's not transphobic in and of itself. You can't help who you like. So I was on the fence about this at first, and I was like, wow, yeah, like, you know, I agree with that statement. But then we dig in a little further, and Magdalene has so graciously tweeted these hot takes on the internet. You are fucking blackface actors. You aren't women. You're men who get sexual kicks from being treated like women. Fuck you and fuck your dirty perversions. Our oppression isn't a fetish, you pathetic, sick fuck. Now, some people can write that off as an out of context tweet for sure. Now let's go to a 2017 conversation she was having with Ariel Scarsala. Also, the American flag profile pic and push-up, really, at least you know your audience, I guess. Ariel said, no need to fight, ladies. And she said, he's, referring to Blair, who's a trans woman, he's already deleted his tweet at Ariel Scarsala, afraid of associating with TERFs and leftists lest his fanboys go mad, referring to a trans woman as a man. Awesome! Way to fucking go. Ariel said Blair is a woman and actually anti-SJW. You should watch some of her content. Magdalene replies, I've done 3 response videos to Blair. Agree with him. What the fuck? Agree with him on some points, but women are adult human females, so not that. So J.K. Rowling to sit here and defend not only one fucking TERF, who has also referred to trans women as just transitioning just to be predatory, but 2 TERFs that have referred to trans women as just transitioning to be predatory. And to act like that's not a fucking problem, hello? And just to skim over that, I'd like to think that J.K. Rowling would refer to me as a woman and as female pronouns and all that good shit. And she said she would, you know, fight alongside trans women, which, or trans people in general actually, which is very powerful. But it's not a good look when you're speaking so highly. And I mean, when she speaks so highly about Magdalene, she speaks so fucking highly of her. And as if the only atrocious thing she's done on the internet is say it's not transphobic to not want to date a trans woman. Now, Magdalene could have changed her views over the years. This is very true. The evidence just doesn't fucking go there, but alright. It also doesn't make her look any better and any less of like a TERF when she defends radical feminists in her paragraph by saying, ironically, radical feminists aren't even trans exclusionary. They include trans men in their feminism because they were born women. They include trans men in their feminism because they were born women. And to act like that's not a fucking... to act like that's not a problem thing to say. First of all, I thought feminism was the equality, the belief and equality of men and women being treated, you know, equally. But apparently only women and former women can be included in feminism? I'm sorry, what the fuck? But not only do I just fundamentally disagree with that, justifying radical feminists by saying they include former women as well, but these radical feminists wouldn't include trans women in there? Because I have never had a sexist comment in my fucking life ever, or was treated as less than because I'm a woman. That's never happened to me in my whole goddamn life. Shut the fuck up. Another thing she gets wrong is TERF origins. Now this is highly debated amongst people, but from my research, this is actually the TERF origins. So the term TERF was coined by cis radical feminist Viv Smith, I'm guessing? I don't fucking know. As a way of distinguishing trans antagonistic radical feminists from all the rest. So the term TERF was coined and started by a fucking cis woman, not trans people. It's definitely used majority of the time by trans people, 100% agree. And it's trans people that have perpetuated the term TERF and tend to abuse that term for sure. But it wasn't originated by trans people as a way to get back at cis people. Now, J.K. Rowling goes into a huge rant about detransition and rapid onset gender dysphoria, and this falls under my not problems and my problems. Detransition is a very, very complex topic, so this might fly over a lot of people's heads. J.K. Rowling hits some of the points about detransition very well, but then in some parts really doesn't. And where the parts she really slips is where she talks about rapid onset gender dysphoria. Rapid onset gender dysphoria is described as people who kind of were persuaded into being trans, but overall it's basically a cis person that is probably easily impressionable. It's basically a cis person that is usually very impressionable, that was persuaded into thinking that transition was the right move to help with their physical body problems. The people who are seen as having rapid onset gender dysphoria are people who have outside body problems that aren't necessarily gender related. It's outside mental disorders that perpetuate their body problems, and it's not gender dysphoria. Therefore, transition doesn't end up being right for them. And if they do transition, they end up regretting that choice because they aren't trans and they detransition. Now, apparently, the World Professional Association for Trans Health says that rapid onset gender dysphoria, RODG, is not a medical entity recognized by any major professional association. There is one study done by Lisa Letterman, which J.K. Rowling cites in her article, and this is the only study that has gained any kind of traction with detransition rates and detransition in general and rapid onset gender dysphoria. But what a lot of people don't actually understand is that this study is incredibly biased. There were no trans people involved in this study. There were parents of detransitioners involved in this study. And all of these parents were found on websites. They were all unsupportive parents of trans kids and were specifically found on sites such as Transgender Trend, Youth Trans Critical Professionals, which most of the parents on those sites are very unsupportive of trans people and trans kids specifically. The participants for this study were all biased and all thinking the same fucking thing virtually, which that's not at all a good way of going about, nor a professional way of going about studies. Especially when it comes to detransition, that's a very irresponsible way of going about it. The NHS says that less than 1% of people detransition. Some of those go on to retransition. Most cite transphobia and lack of family support as their reason for detransition, not transition regret. You shouldn't use those people as a tool to weaponize against trans healthcare. But there are parts of trans healthcare that I definitely disagree with. And we are going to get to that when we get to the not problems. Another problem is the trans women bathroom hypothesis. Here we fucking go again. J.K. Rowling says, "So I want trans women to be safe. At the same time, I do not want to make natal girls and women less safe. When you throw open the doors of bathrooms and changing rooms to any man who believes or feels he's a woman, and as I've said, gender confirmation certificates may now be granted without any need for surgery or hormones, then you open the door to any and all men who wish to come inside. That is the simple truth." But at this point, you are justifying taking away one of the rights of trans people. In fact, it's actually seen that trans women are more unsafe in women's bathrooms than cis women in women's bathrooms. And I can attest to this because I've definitely got weird looks in the bathroom before, and I've been pushed out of a locker room before. And this is all while I was starting out transition. When you substitute rights in a way, taking away one person's rights to help another isn't gonna fucking help anybody, and it has proven to not help anybody. Assaulting a person in a bathroom is already fucking illegal. Cis women are already protected in that sense. Looking under a stall or trying to be at all predatory in any way, shape, or form is already fucking illegal for anybody to fucking do. So to strip away a trans person's right for that shit by supporting trans women's rights and trans people's rights in general to use the bathroom, you aren't opening the gates for illegal shit that's already illegal to happen. It has happened before, 100%. But because there's trans people that are predators, doesn't mean every trans person's motive in life is to be a predator. And that's just the objective truth that people like J.K. Rowling are not getting through their heads. They are already protected because being a predator is fucking illegal already. My last problem is she chose Pride Month of all fucking times to talk about trans people. The only time she is ever supportive of trans people is when she's critical beforehand of trans people. She always follows it with, I support trans people's rights. Like, I have not seen you go out of your way for trans people ever. The only thing I've actually seen you do for the LGBT community is queerbait the fuck out of it for your fucking books and possibly for publicity, and having a trans woman in one of your stories. And when one of the main characters found out that person was trans, they were like, oh yeah, I can see it now. You have a big Adam's apple. You have a noticeable Adam's apple, actually. Yeah, I can see that you're trans now. It's like, what? That doesn't normalize trans people or trans women at fucking all. Now, here is my not problems. Here comes the controversies. She has the right and every right to speak about this. While I don't agree with a lot of what she says, and I think she's spreading misinformation, she has the right to say this shit. And by telling her to shut the fuck up, only makes her want to talk about it more. I would have a conversation with the woman any fucking day about her views. She's not advocating for trans genocide. She would probably not misgender me in front of me. She would probably not misgender anybody on purpose. Therefore, I can't objectively say that she's so much of a TERF. So trans communities, stop trying to silence people you disagree with. Instead, do what I'm doing, do what a lot of other trans people are doing, and criticize those specific points. You can criticize somebody any day, but silencing someone is a total different story. I don't think she deserves to be silenced. I feel like she deserves to be corrected. And I would rather somebody be corrected about their opinions and learn from it than just be silenced. And the only way for J.K. Rowling to ever learn is to meet her halfway and at least criticize her. And at most, criticize her opinions. I agree with her that self-ID is very fucking dangerous. When it comes to getting hormones, I think that definitely self-ID regulations should be there. She is correct about biology. She is correct, and I think we can all agree to this, or at least most of us. She is correct about biology. Biology is a very complicated thing, but what I think we can agree is that biology makes a trans person a trans person. If I weren't, if I didn't have enough fucking XY and all that good shit at birth to make me male, I wouldn't be a trans woman. I am a trans woman because I was assigned male at birth, and I grew up in life having male puberty, obviously, and then I transitioned into a woman. Therefore, I am a trans woman. But not only is she right about biology, she is right about the experience both trans women and cis women have, and that's the fact that there are different experiences. We have probably similar experiences when it comes to sexism, but we also have different experiences. For example, on our differences, I've never grown up as a girl. I hit puberty obviously later when I took hormones as a woman, but she got to experience that all naturally. She got to grow up and be born as a girl, which with that you'll have different experiences, and a lot of trans people deny and continue to deny that they have different experiences than the cis person would have. But the reality is, I'm going to have a different experience than a cis person, and that's totally fine to say. It doesn't make you any less of a man, woman, person in general. It doesn't make you any less to concede that. J.K. Rowling doesn't know what it's like to be a trans woman and what I face as a trans woman, or you as a non-binary person, or you as a trans man, just as much as we don't know what she experiences and what it's like to experience being a cis woman that identifies as a woman. Wait, that's what a cis woman is. Fuck. I've experienced sexism for being a woman before. That's something we can definitely relate to in that aspect, but she's never faced what it's like to be a trans woman. I've never faced what it's like to be a cis woman. The trans community jumps on a cis person stating biology is real and talking about trans politics and calls them a TERF very quickly, and I very much disagree with that. As for the final thing, detransition. Detransition, she actually studied further into this than I actually thought she would. However, and this is anecdotal, do keep this in mind, I believe the problem with detransition, and it is a problem, and she brings it up, and I'm glad that she brings it up. I wish she brought this specific thing that I'm about to tell you up. But for the trans community to sit here and act like they've done nothing, they've had no responsibility into persuading people, impressionable people, to be trans, is a fucking lie. And to deny that in any way would be a fucking lie. Oops, I have a headache. This is something the trans community refuses to talk about a lot of the time. But I have spoken with many people before who have been convinced by the trans community that what was wrong with them was the fact that they had gender dysphoria, when in fact they had a multitude of issues, one of them being body dysmorphia and other mental disorders that are attributed with body problems in general, as well as being just a genuinely and generally impressionable person. When somebody has issues that might be in relation to their gender, stop jumping to gender dysphoria. They might not have gender dysphoria. Don't write them off as not having gender dysphoria, of course, but don't be so quick to say it is gender dysphoria and you are a trans person. That's a very, very, very that's some shit. It's not as simple as, I hate my boobs, I hate my curves, therefore I am a trans man, or I hate my dick and I hate my flat chest, therefore I am a trans woman. It's a lot more complicated than that. While that is definitely something me as a trans woman has related to for sure, that didn't count as just me, oh, you're trans because of that. And on the medical aspect of things, the system has failed, and the medical system has really failed trans people in the US in the sense of a horrible thing that I'm very much against, which is informed consent. Now, if you don't know what informed consent is, it's the easiest way for trans people and people who want to go on hormones to be able to go on hormones as fast as possible. And this gives almost, in a way, and I hate to say it like this, but this gives a lot of power to very impressionable people. It gives even less structure to people who are having imbalances and need structure. I believe you should get a medical diagnosis of gender dysphoria in order to go on hormones and do surgery of that sort, because things like informed consent can be abused, and abused by impressionable people who don't know what they're doing, and this is a wrong decision. I want less people, and J.K. Rowling wants less people to make these kind of decisions that aren't for them. The trans community in general will really easily hop on, yeah, you have gender dysphoria kind of thing, and it comes from a supportive, place. I get that, but you can't, because somebody hates, a specific aspect of their secondary or primary sex characteristics, doesn't mean that they are transgender. And me and J.K. Rowling could 100% agree on that, I believe. And I wish she could have mentioned the informed consent thing, because I believe that is one of the biggest, if not the biggest problem contributing to detransition. But so, motherfuckers lurking on the internet, make your decision down below if you think J.K. Rowling is a TERF or if you think she's not a TERF, and give me those reasons why. So fuck you and have a great fucking day. Anyway, thank y'all's balls so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do what you do, and I'll see y'all's balls in the next video. London, out.